Okay, so I had to change up my knot, the rope I had in my little knot corral here, just so it'll be a little clearer on the next knot we're going to tie. So we're going to step away from the figure 8 family, and the next knot we're going to tie here is called the Prussik or Prussik, depending on how you pronounce it, and it is a movable friction hitch. So it's relatively easy to tie. So we're going to start with bight of rope, ideally the middle of the utility cord, but it doesn't have to be. I'm going to place the bight over the top. I'm going to reach through the center. I'm going to pull the tails through. So at this point, I have what's called the Girth Hitch. Right, but we're going to keep going from there. So I'm going to separate these out. Take the tails, bring them around. One more. So at this point, I have what's called a 2 Wrap Prusik. And for most applications, this will work just fine. But what I've found with this rope in particular and these cordages, that I need to add in that 3rd wrap, and that's mainly because of the diameter of the rope, and we'll get into that. Here. So I add that 3rd wrap. The big keys here is I always wrap on the inside and through this perpendicular locking bar. So as you can see, as I dress this down, I spin each one of these. I have my perpendicular locking bar. If I pull on it, it bites, and then if I push on the knot itself, I can slide it around. So this is a very useful knot that will has a lot of little slight uses. You can climb a rope with it if you need to. You can use it for building hauling systems and a bunch of other stuff. So some things to keep in mind with the Prussik is it really depends on the difference in diameter. So the greater the difference in diameter between the rope you're tying it with to the rope you are tying it on, the better it will bite. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. If you use a small cord and this rope's really big and you put a heavy load on it, it may be very difficult to break the Prussik or get it loose. And then vice versa. This is a 7mm cord and this is a 10mm rope. So I'm right at what they recommend is a 3mm minimum difference. So that's why I had to put on that 3rd wrap. Other things that will affect the effectiveness of this knot is a condition of the rope. So this is a relatively new rope, so it's still shiny, so it's a good dry coat. If the rope's wet, where I've found it really becomes a problem is if the ropes have a lot of dirt or they're dusty because they got some moisture on them and then some dirt stuck to them. That tends to cause them to bite very, very hard. To loosen up the Prussik, we have what's called the perpendicular locking bar. All we're going to do is pull on that. You may have to hold the knot and like roll it and break it, but that breaks it apart. And now the knot's loose to move, and then before we load it all up, we just grab all the turns and dress it down. Alright, let's do that one more time. So I have my bight of rope. I come around the rope I'm tying it to and I pull it through the center, creating a girth hitch. I separate these out and I take the tails and I come kind of through the window created by that perpendicular locking bar in between the 2 loops I already tied for 2. I'm going to dress it down here. I like to try to keep it neat with this knot. And I'm going to do one more, so I'm going to slide those 2 out and bring it around and through for a 3rd. And you can keep going if you need to for some reason, but what I found is after 3 is it becomes really difficult for this knot to loosen up once you get it to dress down and bite. So it's just a pain in the butt. So 3 seems to be the good number for most things. But you can definitely give it a shot with 2, and if it doesn't work with 2, you add 3. If it doesn't work with 3, you add 4. So that is the Prussik knot. So what we're going to look at, we're going to look to have a perpendicular locking bar with the running, the standing end, exiting from the center of the knot with 2 to 3 wraps around the rope.